Creative Brain Candy by creators for creators.
The Martians are giving us a fair berth, but they've matched every one of our course changes precisely.
Bastards are shadowing us. How much further to the Eros impact site?
It's tough to tell through this atmosphere, but I don't think it'll be much longer.
What is that?
Well, it's just a bit of science history. It's the Drake equation.
Looks like 6th grade algebra.
The average rate of star formation times the fraction of stars formed with planets that could support life. Fraction of those that could develop life, and intelligent life. And the fraction of those that could develop technologies that might release detectable signals into space. And of course, the time over which those signals might be detectable.
That's not an equation. That's just a big fat guess.
It suggests there are over 36 million advanced civilizations out there doing all kinds of things that we just don't understand.
If that were true, we would have detected signals by now.
Not necessarily. Space is a big, empty place. We might be too far apart, or perhaps they're just broadcasting the signals for too short a time.
How convenient.
Those things that we're looking for out there, those things might be signals.
Or maybe all those other civilizations are gone. Maybe it's the nature of intelligent life to destroy itself.
Well, I prefer to think that intelligent life can choose not to.
More magical thinking.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Smoking and Drinking in Space. This is a sci-fi podcast from a couple guys who think they know sci-fi. And this week, we continue our coverage of The Expanse with the season that asks the question, isn't glowy blue stuff really pretty? Starring Shohreh Aghdashloo, Frankie Adams, and Kaz Anvar, it's Season 2 of The Expanse. But first, he's the chicken-loving asshole who is taking advantage of a bad situation thanks to his hidden camera network. It's Rob. How are you doing, Rob?
Sorry, it's Star Crunch loving, not chicken loving.
Oh, shit. I forgot you had those damn things. I really do just not like you right now.
Well, you know what? I'm running out of hard drive space, no thanks to you.
Yeah. And he's the crazy science guy who just wants to get a little closer to get a better view and finds himself in a deconstructed ship. It's our guest from Gonna Geek. It's SP. How are you doing, SP?
You know, every once in a while, you just want to take a slow ship down on Venus and just breathe in the toxic and overwhelming heated atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like corrosive gases in your lungs to really brighten your day.
I want to be honest, I was only half listening, and at first it sounded like he said he needed to take a slow shit on Venus. I was like, what the hell?
Do you need a bathroom break, Rob?
No.
Do you need to take care of something personal?
Well, I'm
Why
good.
are you the way that you are, Rob?
I'm just special.
You are special. Do you have any special news for us?
Yeah, I do. All right, so where should we start? I'm going to start with the news. Yeah, you kind of trumped me on. Picard. Season 3.
Yes. Yep.
Has been confirmed.
Well, they were filming Season 3 along with Season 2.
Right. But that's
So we already knew Season 3 was going to happen.
but it's going to be the last one. And that's really not my news. My big news is Star Trek Discovery will be back on February.
Talking about a show that needs a last season.
Yep. So February 10th. But that's okay. They've been renewed for another season, so you've still got time to jump onto that bandwagon, Jason.
I just don't understand why.
Yeah.
They need to fill a time slot until they can get whatever they want to do with Star Trek in the future going.
Right.
And I mean future. I don't mean this past, what it was, Star Trek, whatever it is with the old Enterprise and Spock and stuff.
Yeah, Strange New Worlds. That's going to, we'll get to that, but Picard will start on March 3rd. And
I'm looking forward to the second season.
Yep. Season 2, March 3rd.
I can't wait until they bring whales in.
You think they're going to bring whales in?
Oh, God, I hope so.
Oh, yeah,
I
it
hope
is, isn't it?
I hope they do something
That's right,
that
because they go
that's
back
a
in time or
callback.
something, don't they?
Yeah, that's a callback to Star Trek 4. I hope they do something.
Right. And then Strange New Worlds will round it off immediately following Picard. And it's been renewed for a second season, even though it hasn't even come out. So that's impressive. Discovery was renewed for a fifth season, and then of course Picard's got a third season, but that is going to be the last. Picard's getting kind of old,
and I'm fine with that.
Oh, yeah,
I'm fine with Star Trek Picard having just 3 seasons.
Yeah.
3 and out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Paramount Plus is trying to do the same thing that Disney Plus is doing, although Disney Plus has a few different properties where they want to keep a series going at any given time. And on Disney Plus, between Star Wars and Marvel, they have that geek genre kind of taken care of every week with just a few weeks off here and there. The problem with Star Trek is if they do that, they then overwhelm you with Star Trek. And it's the same thing that happened over on, what was it, Universal Network? I forget
UPN?
what it was, the UPN, where people after 25 years or whatever of consistent Star Trek basically said, we've had enough. I think we're going to get there with Star Trek if they keep on throwing all these series at the same time on Paramount Plus. Not that I mind all that great content, arguably with Jason with his issues, but I think it's great content. And I just think they're just going to give too much because there's only so much Star Trek that you can take.
Right. So, and
the world needs wrong people too. So,
and the what?
He said it was great content. I said the world needs wrong people too.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So, and it's funny that you brought up UPN and getting that oversaturation. Because my next news article involves Strange New Worlds, and that there is a bunch of people hoping and hoping and hoping and hoping that they bring T'Pol in from Enterprise for a little cameo for Strange New Worlds, because technically it can happen. T'Pol.
Wait. How far ahead of the original series did Enterprise happen?
Enterprise was before the original series. Enterprise was...
I know, that's what I just said. How far ahead?
About 100.
Remember Archer's dog. What was Archer's dog name? Can't remember the name. Anyway, the new Chekhov, right? Transported him incorrectly. So they would overlap. If Archer was still alive, T'Pol would still be alive.
Yeah, so Archer was around. Archer was
Pathos. Pathos was the dog.
Yeah, Archer was around because he was the first president, apparently, of the Federation. And based on this article, T'Pol would be it'll be about 100 years. She'll be about 100 years old. So that is completely within the time frame of a Vulcan.
And it wasn't Chekhov, it was Scotty.
Scotty.
In the reboot, he was banned to that planet with that CGI creature because of the thing he did with Archer's dog.
Yeah, Archer's original dog. Yeah. Now that was the Kelvin timeline though.
It was, but it's basically the same time frame that you're talking about, where Enterprise would overlap with Strange New World.
Right. Yeah. So in Enterprise, T'Pol was in her 50s during Enterprise, and she would still be alive because she'd be about 150 during Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. So there's been some speculation or some hoping that maybe she makes a cameo in one of the episodes, especially since the episodes are supposed to be, or this series is supposed to be episodic and not serial.
Boo!
Yeah, it's going to be more episodic. There's going to be a little bit of serial in it, from what I understand, but it's going to be more episodic than it is like serial, like Picard and Discovery has been.
So it's going to go back to the original roots of the original series and Next Generation.
Correct. Yeah. Have maybe a an overarching theme, but maybe not necessarily Planet of the Week, but Mission of the Week. So that'll be.
Can we get the salt monster back? The monster that sucks all the salt out of you?
Maybe.
I don't remember that one.
It was from the original series, one of the first episodes.
Well,
yeah, I don't remember that one. I haven't watched the original series as much as I have the Next Generation. All right, what else you got, Rob?
So the last one I've got is James Webb showed up to its spot. Yay. We'll see pictures eventually. That's it. That's all I got. Just James Webb showed up. The space telescope showed up. It's in its spot.
So it's in its halo orbit. They've established the halo orbit.
Yep. It's arrived.
Now they've done everything. They unfurled everything. And gotten everything in place.
As far as I can tell, they've unfurled everything that they needed to unfurl. They've fluffed the feathers and they've battened down the hatches. They did turn around and take a selfie of the alien house on the moon.
That's good.
Yeah. So we're set. And now we're just gonna look up under the skirt of the cosmos.
Hey, wait a second. So now that the James Webb is in place and Moonfall's about to launch, and we now know that the moon house is just a big rock, but we suspect that it's a big rock that has a key underneath.
Correct.
Whoa.
I think
no.
Said that.
No, it sounds like Jason's on board. Welcome.
I think that Moonfall is actually going to be a live recording.
You think it's
I think Moonfall is going to happen in real time. So the James Webb is going to be filming Moonfall as it happens.
See, I thought it was a documentary that they did. I didn't realize this was live.
It's a live broadcast.
Dude.
It can't be because they wouldn't get any royalties from it, because if it did happen, then there would be nobody to watch any reruns.
Yeah, but reality TV is just a ratings champion. They can't pass up the advertisements that they would get from this massive reality TV.
I'm sure there's going to be cleverly placed Pepsi and Coke cans and
before the Super Bowl has a chance to air. I mean, I don't know, guys.
I'm on board.
Maybe the entity inside the moon is going to be the Super Bowl artist, the Super Bowl halftime artist.
So after we're done watching this live broadcast, it's going to come on down, smack right into onto the 50-yard line, right in the middle, and it's going to be the halftime show for the big game, because we can't say we can't say Super Bowl.
Right?
Yes, you can.
No, you can't say Super Bowl.
You
like
can
a
say
lot.
Super Bowl.
You can't say Super Bowl.
You can say Super Bowl.
Super
a lot.
Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Super
So
Bowl.
I'm saying Super Bowl with an SOUPER. So I'm going to have a Super Bowl.
God, you're such a dork. All right, let's hear from another podcast on the network, shall we?
Are they as dorky as us?
Probably not.
Okay, good.
I'm Sergeant Seagar from Eyes Forward March. We're part of the Creative Brain Candy Media Cooperative, and I'm asking you to join myself and Sergeant Bacon every 2 weeks on Wednesdays. We're going to discuss everyday issues that leaders in the military have to face. We're going to exchange stories and have some laughs along the way. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, or simply head over to creativebraincandy.com. While you're there, make sure to check out some of the other great podcasts who are part of the Creative Brain Candy family.
All right, definitely go check them out on creativebraincandy.com, along with all the other great podcasts on our co-op. So who's ready for a pod crawl?
Sure.
Oh, if it gets us out of this news, I am.
Let's do this.
We can call it, I don't know, say a pod crawl? The pod crawl! Pod crawl! Pod crawl! Pod crawl! Excellent! Insert it deep! Pod crawl! kind of like a space suppository full of information.
Earth and Mars are still at each other's throats, and both are burning toward Phoebe Station to get more information on the glowy blue goo that defies physics. Earth is going to beat Mars there, but Mars says, nah, and blows up Phoebe Station, because if they can't have it, nobody can. Earth says, oh yeah? We can blow shit up too, and they destroy Demos. This puts both sides on edge again. Meanwhile, the Rossi crew make it back to Tycho Station, where they start getting an idea of what happened on Eros. Freddy puts together a team to blow Eros up and get rid of the proto-goo, but an aid ship who is filled with idiots throws that plan on its head when the Rossi has to blow it up to keep quarantine containment. The shrapnel from the blast jacks up Miller's nuclear bomb, and he has to keep resetting it, so he decides that he's going to ride Eros until the Mormon Ark smashes into the rock. However, Eros has other plans and dodges, dips, ducks, dives and dodges the Mormon ship and changes course to smash itself into Earth. This has Earth freaking the fuck out, and they launch half their nuclear arsenal toward Eros in an attempt to make the really big rock a bunch of much smaller rocks. The Rossi helps guide the missiles in for a bit until Eros starts outrunning them, and Miller makes it into the creamy center of the gooey blue asteroid. Turns out Julie is kinda alive, merged with the proto-goo, and driving the ship toward Earth in a dreamlike state wanting to go home. Miller puts all his best moves on her, gets some deep space glowy blue nookie, and convinces Proto-Julie to steer towards Venus instead. Eros crashes, Freddy takes over some of Earth's nuclear weapons, and everyone on Earth rejoices not being smashed back into the Stone Age. There is some political struggles with the OPA between Dawes and Johnson, and Holden and crew try not to take sides. Meanwhile, something sparks the flames of war above Ganymede Station, when some Mars and Earth ships start shooting at each other, which devastates the station. Gunny Bobby Draper is the only survivor of the conflict on the surface, and she is whisked away to Earth to act as a witness of the goings-on during the peace talks between Earth and Mars. She's pretty sure she saw Bigfoot on that moon of Jupiter, and Bigfoot wasn't wearing a vac suit. She breaks out of her room and takes a walk about to go see the ocean, and Christian tells her that she wasn't just imagining Bigfoot, he's real, and she has pictures. Bobby heads back to the Mars embassy, where she beats the shit out of her commanding officer, until he tells her that he and Mars are complicit in the Ganymede shenanigans. Bobby nopes out and claims political asylum on Earth, causing yet another diplomatic shitstorm. Meanwhile, Holden and crew have found a botanist on Tycho that came from Ganymede, and they need a guide, because they have tracked down the origin of the proto-goo to just that location. They convince Plant Guy by threat of violence to show them around the place, and also give vague promises of helping him find his daughter. Ganymede is in shambles, and it's about to get worse as the air generators are overloaded and destined to fail. Holden and crew make their way down to the bowels of the station, where they find some researchers and guards assigned to the super-secret project, and they immediately open fire. Some of the researchers and guards escape, but when they try and blow Holden and the gang up with a grenade, Amos tosses it back and kills them, but also unleashes Bigfoot. Captain Ahab isn't going to let his chance at the great white skunk ape escape, so he takes the Rossi on safari, and almost gets everyone killed before coming back to his senses and threatening everyone within shooting distance with a very uncomfortable colonic if they make moves towards him or his escort. Fortunately, Holden gets another bite at the apple as Bigfoot has hitched a ride and is trying to crack into the nougaty center of the Rossi for that sweet, sweet reactor juice. They lure Bigfoot out of the airlock and fry it to a crisp with their main engine. Naomi tells Holden that she didn't actually destroy the proto-goo they found and actually gave it to Freddy, and roll Freddy now holding the future of the system in his maniacal hands. Credits.
All right, season 2 of The Expanse. So we are a third of the way done with The Expanse, and season 2 I think is as good, if not better, than season 1. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
It's totally better than season 1, and definitely is as good, but totally better. I mean, season 1, last week I said, was basically the mystery of Julie Mao. Season 2 is how to weaponize the protomolecule, but the protomolecule says, hold my beer, I'm doing my own thing, bitch.
Nice, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so season 2 is basically taking the mystery of Julie Mao, or where in the world is Julie Mao, and kind of broadening the conspiracy. So we've gone from this small focus on searching for this one person who has some sort of tie to the protomolecule, and now we know what that tie is. It turns out it's her father who is spearheading this effort, who his company discovered this protomolecule. And now they're trying to develop it into either a weapon or some way to kind of evolve the human race into, I guess, their vision of the next evolution of human race. It's kind of still nebulous what Jules Pierre Mao's ambitions are with the proto-molecule. But basically, he's taking it to Earth and Mars and saying, hey, look, we can make a weapon out of this. And they're giving him additional funds to kind of do the research on this proto-molecule.
Right.
So we've broadened the conspiracy. We have more actors now. We have Julie's father, Jules Pierre Mao. We have the assistants or undersecretary of the UN. And then now Mars is complicit because once the undersecretary, I can't remember his name,
Aaron
the
Wright.
UN
Aaron
backed
Wright.
out. Yeah, Aaron Wright. Once he backed out, Jules Pierre Mao went to Mars and said, hey, look, I've got a weapon for you that will give you the advantage over Earth. And really, that's what Mars has been seeking the entire time since they broke off from Earth.
You're completely right. We get more and more and more, which is awesome. I mean, last week I said the first 3 seasons are basically the world building to get us to really the starting point. And this expands beyond just the myopic view of the events, because we're basically watching all the events as the crew of the Rocinante are viewing them. It's the result, and they just happen to be there every time. This time, the entire solar system gets into play, and you have layers upon layers upon layers. Like, you don't realize that they're all working along the same lines until the very end. The biggest dupe of the entire season, and I mean biggest by like solar system biggest, is Mars using peace as diversion to get this hybrid out. The Bigfoot, by the way, in the credits there, you said, but to get the hybrid weapon out there and to have the weapon, and they want the weapon. They don't care about Ganymede at all. Matter of fact, they want to just completely destroy it. And I don't think they have enough missiles to blow that rock apart, although they probably could if they used every single missile that they have. But they're okay with the egg domes going away because it's an Earth-based outpost that feeds the belt. It doesn't make a difference to Mars. They just want to destroy it as a escalation, and they want to get the weapon that was being developed out of there so they can have their ultimate super soldier. They are a culture that is based on military conquest. They've diverted their funds from terraforming Mars to be the biggest, baddest military of the solar system. So you see it in the personnel, like the Captain Martins and the ambassador, I forget his name, and they're all in on that, and they all want this weapon so they can dominate Earth, and they could care less about either Earth or the belt. So you're getting to see all of this simultaneously from the viewpoint of a very few key places that it's coming together, and it's just so well done, and it's just a preamble again to the bigger story.
So if, Mars knows what's going on. Mars knows it's a test, right, on Ganymede. They're doing a test thing. Why did they have their dudes out there be in the crossfire, which would then raise questions?
It was
the test
cover.
went horribly wrong. Yeah, the test went horribly wrong.
They didn't expect the test to affect things in orbit or even on the surface. That kind of escalated. But they also had ships out there because Ganymede is a joint venture between Earth and Mars. It's a joint agricultural station on Ganymede that kind of. And I don't think they feed just the belt. I think they also bring some.
No, they feed Mars too. Some.
Yeah, so Mars gets some of the agricultural benefits of Ganymede too, but they had ships out there, I think, as cover. So after Phoebe happened, Earth brought ships to Ganymede. Mars brought ships to Ganymede. So they were kind of holding guns against each other.
Right.
They had stepped up their patrols on Ganymede on either side of their system. So yeah, that's why Mars, and I don't think that all the ships, or even most of the ships out there, if any, knew what was going to happen at Mars. This is a super secret base,
right?
Mars just now found out about it. They haven't been in the loop until Earth backed out. So this is still kind of new to them, and they authorized the test, or it was basically
demonstration.
A test. It was a demonstration to Mars to sign them off on buying the technology.
But why would they authorize that and then have their personnel out there in the field too? What
do you mean?
Well, Bobby and all them, they were out there in the field during the test. I guess collateral damage. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they expected that much collateral damage.
Okay.
I think the test kind of broke out of the test parameters. So I think it broke out of the test arena and started chasing down the Earth Marines on the Earth side.
Because that's where it was based out of.
Right.
Is what it looked like. Yeah, that area.
So Mars won the battle and they retained ownership, and they had a blockade basically, except for relief ships that came in and out. My issue with that is that if they really wanted to help Ganymede from experiencing the Cascade moment, they would have given a heck of a lot of more aid from their ships that were right there than they did. So they were kind of expecting the whole place to go tango uniform, or tits up as we call it in space, satellite lingo. And the Martians, I think, were expecting Ganymede just to cease to exist. Otherwise, they would have made more effort in the aid part of it and prevented the Cascade. I don't know how long it's going to take, basically, to rebuild that place, or if you really could with all the damage. I do have an issue with the mirrors. So when the mirrors were exploded because of gunfire that went through them, I could see parts of the mirrors coming back down to Ganymede, but they were saying that the mirrors fell, like you're shooting them out of the sky. There's satellites that are orbiting, and they wouldn't be falling. They could be deorbiting, but if they were really, it's like the anti-satellite tests that have just occurred around Earth the past couple of years. The stuff is up there for a very long time until it finally degrades due to atmospheric drag. Well, Ganymede doesn't have that much atmospheric drag. So all of that battle stuff, garbage that's orbiting, it wouldn't just fall down right on top of the egg domes. Parts would, just because you're exploding in 360 degree spherical way, but the entire mirror is not going to come straight down.
So even if it was in like a geosynchronous orbit?
Yeah, it was in geosync because those mirrors collected the sun and redirected it onto the egg domes. So if
it would explode in a 360 fashion. So some of it, like I said, would come down, but some of it would remain in orbit, not the geosync orbit, but it would remain in orbit, and some of it would impact all over Ganymede, not just on the egg dome.
But if some of it exploded, so if it exploded, let's just say it got sheared off, right? A large chunk, a large arm of the mirror gets sheared off, and it happens to be pointed towards the surface, it wouldn't burn up or anything because there is no atmosphere. So I could see it puncturing an egg dome.
Yes, parts of the mirror I could see coming down.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the entire mirror just falling down.
Right. Yeah. So that was the one thing. So I had read the book. I got to this part in the book before I saw this season. And I remember, and I still have a bit of a problem, really wrapping my head around that mirror in terms of when it was coming down and seeing it on the screen. What I had in my head was different than what I saw on the screen. Reading it in the book and how they described it, it's like it's this. In my head, it was this. It's one mirror, one big ass giant mirror that collects the sunlight and directs it right back down onto some smaller egg domes that are in that halo of sunlight, right? It's not multiple mirrors. And up there, when it was up there, it looked like it was multiple mirrors or something like that. It was hard to figure out what was going on.
So what you imagined was a giant bathroom mirror floating in orbit.
Well, no, not like a giant bathroom mirror. I mean,
like Star Trek 2 or it's not Star Trek 2, Superman 2 or 3.
No, I was thinking it was a collection of mirrors, but I was thinking it was one giant mirror array, right? It was one array. It wasn't multiple arrays like what they were kind of showing when they were doing flybys.
There may have been a little bit of artistic license on part of the show.
Yeah.
Where, the book actually did describe a large mirror array that was a single array.
Yeah, I seem to recall it being one giant mirror array, not a bunch of smaller ones. Because they make a big deal about, Ganymede is going to collapse. They never really mentioned that Ganymede was going to collapse because of the cascade that they talked about in there. It was more along the lines of it was going to collapse because there was no sun. So all the plants are going to die and the breadbasket is gone. Ganymede was the breadbasket of the solar system, of the belt. And that breadbasket is gone because there isn't enough sunlight that can reach Jupiter, way out there.
Yep.
And that's what they always focused on. So when they were describing things, it's like, okay, it's this big ass array, because if it was tinier mirrors, kind of like what they showed in the thing, it's like, oh yeah, okay. So they lost one, maybe two ag domes. From what it looked like on the surface, there were still 4 or 5 of them. There.
Well, but I think the larger issue after the mirrors came down and did the catastrophic damage, and somebody was leaching the nutrient or the nitrogen out of
they switched out the stuff. Yeah,
the nutrient bath out of the hydroponics, is that the air circulator, the air system was in catastrophic failure.
Yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is Mars knew that they were dooming everybody that was on the surface.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and think about it. I don't think Mars really cared, because it seemed like most of the people that were manning Ganymede Station were belters, right? And Mars doesn't give two shits about belters.
Yeah, that's what I just said about 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's back up in the series, or in the season here. Yep, there we go. Would you guys burn the protomolecule or keep it? The one that they put in the torpedo?
I'd get rid of it.
You'd get rid of it?
Yeah, because just like what's-his-face, the undersecretary said, you give a monkey a bone or a stick, he's going to beat another monkey with it.
Yeah.
You give humanity a protomolecule, they're going to fuck each other up with it.
What about you,
True.
SP?
The issue that I have with all this is they're assuming that it was just a limited exposure at Phoebe that was then generated in the Eros. What they're not taking into account is that this has already been propagated to different places.
Right.
So it went from Phoebe to Eros, maybe to Toth, the Toth station, but definitely to the research station on Ganymede that Dr. Strickland had.
Right.
And they weren't accounting for the fact that there might be more of this stuff out there. They weren't accounting for the fact that none of it leached outside of Eros, which is a distinct possibility. So the big revelation that came to the Rossi crew and everybody else that came to the revelation was that this is not from the solar system.
Right.
This is from outside, and it's some kind of life form or something that's acting like a life form. If that's true, and if it survived in the vacuum of space, it's got to be out there. Even if they were able to completely pulverize Eros or Phoebe, like Phoebe was destroyed, right, by the Martians. There's some residue from that out there. They didn't completely fry it when they exploded Phoebe.
Well, I thought they had they melted the place before they left.
Yeah, they hit the station that Phoebe was, or that was on Phoebe, with a bunch of nukes. So they would have slagged the station, and then that broke Phoebe apart. So
yeah, but just think in terms of the the archaeological digs, and I said that completely messed up, and I swear I'm not drunk, across the solar system that we're having today, we're finding these tardigrades all over the place. Tardigrades can survive in the vastness of space. An asteroid hits Earth, before now, some rock is kicked up there, and it still has life in the form of tardigrades on it, which then can find its way to another planet and start life on a different planet. What I'm saying is, in all of the travels of the protomolecule, not to mention, we don't know if the sample that we found at Phoebe was the only one in the solar system. But if there's more out there, then you would want to keep a sample around to study it. And I get what you guys are saying. You don't want to make it available to people that are warmongers and want to make it into a weapon. Obviously, that's what happened. But to get rid of this sample like the Rossi crew wanted to, without considering the fact that there might be more out there, I think was a little short-sighted of the Rossi crew. But I don't necessarily disagree with wanting to get rid of it because it's bad.
Yeah.
Like somebody could happen along it, some rock hopper that wants to mine what's left of the rock there for whatever reason, or a pirate might want to hide there and, oh, what's that? That's a missile. Wow, we can take that. So yeah, it's just a bad place to keep it. But where else are you going to keep it? So I get the rationale of wanting to get it in. The issue in the show, of course, is that Naomi has done it in secret and, in fact, in direct violation of what she showed them, because she showed the missile going into the sun and to the Rossi crew, and that was not the case whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah. So how much proto-molecule do you think was on Phoebe?
Not much. I don't think when they started it, maybe, I don't know, maybe even just a handful. I think
it probably wasn't much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
we've seen that the proto-molecule is able to replicate itself and grow.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't take much for them to grow the proto-molecule into the sample sizes that they had.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't have a timeline in terms of how long had they had a research station on Phoebe before they found this sample or the protomolecule. We don't know how long it had been there, but you would think if there was a vast quantity on Phoebe, it would have been found significantly sooner, right?
Yep.
Unless Phoebe just has the gooey center as protomolecule, and it just took them a while to go to the gooey center.
I think what happened with Phoebe is they found the protomolecule, and then they used Phoebe to start researching the protomolecule.
Right.
Remember, Phoebe was not from the solar system. Phoebe was captured by the gravity
of Saturn.
Yeah.
Saturn.
I want to say Jupiter.
Jupiter?
No, Phoebe is around Saturn.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was there's speculation that if anything's captured in the solar system, it's really captured by the gravity of Jupiter and then redirected to wherever it ends up.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, but
no. Oh, because Jupiter's so large.
Yeah.
Good.
The gravity of Jupiter is outweighing everything else. So if something like onomatopoeia or whatever that asteroid was or comet was that screamed through
onomatopoeia. That's it's like Saskatchewan.
See?
Yeah.
I like that
Pocahontas.
Better, right? So whatever it means family. Family means nobody's lost or forgotten. The issue though is that this is a rock from outside of the solar system. But yeah, I agree that it wouldn't be a bunch. It'd be a small little handful, but we don't know if it was seeded. It was sent to our solar system centuries ago or thousands of years ago by another civilization, or if it was the resulting of an explosion somewhere or something. We don't know. All we know is that it's probably not from the solar system.
Right. We know, but we don't know.
They're saying it's from the Kuiper Belt.
Well, we don't know, but we know. Right? Because we haven't seen it in the season, but we know. because we've watched other seasons.
Well, I mean, in real life, they're saying that Phoebe formed in the Kuiper Belt.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, yeah, a bunch of stuff happens here. There's just so much. Matter of fact, let's break down the whole season into two parts, because you have episodes 1 through 5, which is the whole issue with Eros. And then you have the rest of the season. I almost think it should have been broken up into 2 seasons, or maybe a season, then a mid-season break or something like that.
So what probably happened is they had 10 episodes in season 1 and realized they weren't going to be able to fit the rest of the 5 episodes that kind of make up the rest of season 1 in season that they aired in season 2. They weren't going to be able to tack that on to the end of season 1, so they just kind of padded season 2 with those 5 episodes. And it kind of pulls the first few episodes of season 3 should have been in season 2.
Right. Yeah, so if they wanted to follow a little closer to how the books went, I would have thought that, season 1 would have ended with Phoebe hitting Venus. Eros hitting Venus, and then season 2 would end with what's going to be the ring. That shows up in I think it's the first couple episodes of season 3.
It's real quick after season 3 starts.
And then the rest of season 3 is all about going to the ring or whatever. Not necessarily getting inside the ring, maybe, but definitely to the ring.
Those first 5 episodes was definitely a carry-on or a tail to season 1, but they were so impactful. So you get Miller that's coming to terms. You get the Rossi crew, not just the first 5 seasons, but for the entire season. They're dealing with survivor's guilt, basically, from Eros, each, and not all at the same time. They come to it at different times during the season, but they're all suffering from it, and they all have issues at different points during the season. So you get that. But at the end of the 5-episode swing, you get the biggest ship ever built by humanity that's meant to colonize another solar system being sent to explode an asteroid the size of Eros. It misses, and then Miller, who's stuck on the surface, goes in and meets a reincarnation of Julie or whatever, who thinks she's flying her Razorback racer. And
you'll never
going
catch
home,
me.
And going home, which was the name of the episode, Home, and Miller, in his brilliancy, says, "Nah, let's not go to Earth. We can't go there. Let's go to Eros." And she goes with him because he's the only person that's come to rescue her. Because, like last season, I said everybody used her, and he's the first one that comes along that's, "No, I'm going to stay here with you, but we can't go to the Earth, so let's go to Venus." And so Eros impacts Venus. This is amazing on so many levels. Like, she is actually driving an asteroid. They're diverting and hitting a planet. The big, huge Nauvoo is being stolen and used in this big plot. There's just so much goodness in the 5 episodes alone. It's like, wow, what can happen to make this better? And then we see what's better. It's in the second part of the season. And then, like you guys were saying, in season 3, it even gets better. So this is just amazing sci-fi. I love it.
Now, I will say that the transition episode or 2 between the crash on Eros and them starting to head towards Ganymede and the stuff that happened on Ganymede dragged a little bit. So the whole OPA political intrigue on Tycho, I understand it kind of needed to happen because it sets the pieces up for season 3 and beyond. But yeah, there just wasn't a lot that happened in those 2 episodes, and it wasn't just super exciting either.
You did have some key things that happened. First of all, they go into the history of the Solomon Drive, right? Right after Eros.
Epstein Drive.
The
Epstein Drive,
the Epstein Drive, Solomon and Epstein,
yep.
37 years ago. So you get that, and you get the history behind that, which I think was needed because otherwise, why are all these magical ships able to go across the solar system?
On very little fuel.
Yeah, we do it in other sci-fi properties, but I think because they were trying to bring the science in here, I think it was needed. And then in episode 7, the next one, you get the seventh man wasn't wearing a vac suit. You get that revelation. In episode 8, you get episode 8 is, I think, the slowest of the 3 following Eros, because you get Prax's friend Doris, who's spaced on that freighter because she was an inner, right? So very, very, very sad and like, but they did it. At least they followed the science behind it and the weightlessness and stuff like that. And then at the end of that episode, you get the fracture of the OPA between Dawes, Johnson, and Holden. They're all parting ways. Holden is saying, "Are you still going to be in charge of the station when I get back?" And Johnson says, "You're not welcome here." And Dawes takes a scientist and goes. After that, things start to pick up a little bit. But those first 2 episodes have at least something of interest. And I think episode 8 is kind of the placeholder.
Yeah.
Once you get to episode 9, you start getting into Ganymede.
Yeah. And 8 was, I agree, 8 was relatively slow. I wasn't a big, there wasn't a whole lot there that they couldn't have done with a little bit of like side exposition, right? We didn't necessarily need all of that.
Let me ask you guys this. What was your favorite episode title?
Episode title?
Yeah, you probably didn't.
I
sometimes
didn't pay
I watch
a ton of. Let me.
I liked
see.
Here Be Dragons.
Yep, Here There Be Dragons,
There Be
which is
Dragons.
episode 11.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you guys see the nice little cameo of Adam Savage?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I saw that the first
Yeah.
time I saw this. I was like, "That's Adam Savage."
Yeah, well, he's proud of that thing too. He brings it up occasionally.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
He got
Heck
to be on
yeah.
a ship that was disassembled, Stephanie, on top of Venus like that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I mean,
Okay,
just-
so my favorite title is The Weeping Somnambulist. That's just a fun title.
Yeah, the title of the ship.
Can you say that
basically,
fast?
The freighter.
The Weeping Somnambulist.
Man,
You got you,
can
Rob.
at least say that. You can't say Christian whatever or whatever her name
I can
was.
say Christian
Avasarala?
Avasarala. Christian Avasarala. I can't say.
You can't say the
Shore Agdashlu. I can't say that one.
Yeah.
I can't say her actual name.
Yeah.
I can say her character name.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite CGI scene from this whole thing? I mean, this is well done sci-fi, almost movie quality.
I liked Bigfoot.
if not movie quality.
I thought Bigfoot was really well done for being sci-fi.
Bigfoot looked familiar. Like it looked like another or a similar character in another sci-fi series, and I can't pick out of my brain where it came from.
It's actually played by a real actor. I forget the actor's name, but I was looking at the IMDb, and obviously in a green suit or something
mocap.
like that. Yeah. Yep. Jason, do you have a favorite?
I don't know. I mean, all of the or the vast majority of the scenes were just beautiful. I like I said in the previous episode, the special effects in this series are incredible.
So
top
I've
quality.
got So I've got a list of 5 with an honorable mention. I'll go from bottom to top. So the honorable mention goes to when the Rossi saved the Somnambulist, and I can't even say it, from the torpedo. Somnambulist from the torpedo, right? They're coming out of nowhere. You kind of know what's happening. It's going to happen, but you don't know for sure. You don't know if there's going to be a second big death of a character in the season with Naomi, but the Rossi comes out and just hammers the torpedo, and then Holden gets on open channels and basically bitch slaps everybody out there. Says, "Hey, look, we have you all locked on our nuclear torpedoes. You know our weapons are the best out there," which I came to the conclusion that because this was a ship on the Donnager, it's actually a new generation of ship, and it has the best weapons on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's why he was able to make that. But yeah, I love that. So that was honorable mention, believe it or not. Number 5 was when Prax's friend Doris was spaced, and that was just, really sad, but really scientifically well done. And it wasn't the first either. There's been other spacing scenes, but this was the one that was done that showed us in dramatic effect and everything. Number 4 was when Prax threw the nuclear core to kill the hybrid, or Bigfoot as you're calling it, at the last second, and then Alex lights it up with the barbecue.
Oh, that was a good dissolving dude.
Right. And the hybrid has the nuclear weapon core in its hands. It's like, I got it. And then it just dies happy, I guess. Yeah, my precious. Is that the figure you thought?
No, I'm still trying to think.
Okay. Number 3, Rossi works with Alex to give him a path down to the surface using slingshot time. That whole thing, the ship is now, according to what we saw on the screen, the ship is now working with him. If you watch that whole thing, it could have been just because he was drunk, but he was actually treating the ship like a person, right?
Yeah.
And how many times have you done that with your home assistant device? I mean, actually talk to it back and forth and stuff like that. And that's what he was doing with the Rossi, and the Rossi helped him do it until it got to a point where they were going to give themselves up. And I have issues with that. Like, thrusters alone would not have stopped that momentum and make him hid behind that thing. And Rob, you mentioned last time about the time, the time expenditure in here.
Right.
So yeah, the slingshot time wouldn't have worked like we saw it on screen, but it was beautiful.
That was one of the things I was going to mention, was the time scale that they used during the slingshot around all of Jupiter's moons. There's no way that would have gone that quickly. The moons are much, much farther away than what they depicted in the show.
Yeah.
Number 2 was when Julie was on her little couch thinking Eros was the Razorback and was headed home. That was probably all green screen and stuff like that, but the CGI around that made it look a lot better than it probably did when they were filming it. And number 1 is not when the Arbogast was disassembled on top of Venus, so that would be a second honorable mention. That was well done too. I mean, if you were the CGI effects, the guy that actually made all that, you're like, I made this ship into little bitty pieces, and then you exploded and you showed it on screen for 5 seconds, and that was it. You'd be kind of mad. And anyway, number 1 was the Rossi versus the stealth ship battle at Toss Station with the bullets coming through the Rossi and everything. That was the best scene of the entire season, in my opinion. Now, you guys can debate whether I'm right or I'm wrong. Usually I'm wrong, but that was my top 5.
Yeah, I'll go with that top 5. I mean, it would be hard for me to pick a top 5 out of all of this. Just in effects alone and the cinematography, I think they were all top notch. Like I said, I've got some quabbles with the time compression in this show, but I'm not sure it would be realistic or interesting to the audience to have actual time passage. You know, it would take them, weeks, if not months, to get from the belt to Jupiter, depending on how fast these Epstein drives can actually take them.
No, it's all months in the book. It's months upon months.
So that's not realistic to expect the audience to understand that it's months later and they're now at Jupiter.
Yeah, so like a good example of this is they specifically say later on that from where the ring ends up being, which is just outside Uranus, to Luna was going to be 6 months.
Yeah, so that's still a pretty good clip.
It's a good clip, but I mean, it's still. I mean, what is it from here to Mars in current 6 months?
6 months.
Yeah.
And that's if the planets are aligned. So it's every 2 years you get a 6 month window.
Right.
Yeah, where they're close enough to each other, or they will be close enough to each other by the time you get that ship there. You kind of have to time it.
Yep, it's the Earth is approaching Mars, and then you launch, and then you can get to Mars, and then if you can stay about 2 months, and then be able to come back for 6 months, and then hit Earth on the backside. And it's not exactly 2 years; it's actually every 26 months. But if you look at the date clock of when the windows are, it's like every 2 years, and then once in a while it slips 3 years. But yeah, there's just that's space travel, but that's without Epstein drives.
Right.
But I mean, still, with Epstein drives, how much faster are the Epstein? I'm sure it's a significant amount, But is it a significant amount enough to compress that time?
Well, you got to think though that
by a factor of 10.
The Epstein drives are super efficient, so it's not like they're they're constantly burning. That's what creates your gravity, is the fact that they're constantly burning. So
but they're only burning at like a 1 or 1.5 G rate.
That's still you're consistently accelerating. So
that the Holman transfer, that is that Martian window, for example, you burn once when you leave Earth. You might make a mid-course correction or a couple of them, but you're not really burning to gain any momentum. And then you burn again to insert yourself in Martian orbit once you get there. So if you actually have thrust the entire way, that brings that 6 months down to, and I don't know exactly what it would be, but it depends on how much thrust you're throwing out there too. But you're talking days or weeks versus 6 months.
Yeah.
That much of a compression just by doing a continuous like 1G burn?
It would depend on the position of Earth and Mars, because that 6 months time, if you catch Earth and Mars at the right time, you'd actually have a much shorter distance to go as well. So, and if Earth and Mars are on opposite ends of the solar system, it's going to be much longer. But yes, it would shorten it up quite a bit, because those burns are a matter of minutes that we do now when we send stuff to Mars. But if you're burning the entire time, you're that's a heck of a lot of thrust.
You're always accelerating. So
until you have to start decelerating.
Right. But that's part of
halfway.
Yeah, but that's part of your flip and burn that they mention in the show and in the books, that is.
But think about this, you have to decelerate as much as you've accelerated. So you either have to halfway there flip and start your deceleration burn, which is going to negate all of the time that you've or most of the time that you've gained by doing a continuous acceleration, or you're going to have to accelerate even harder or decelerate even harder closer to your orbit point.
Yeah, sort of.
Tell you what,
sort of.
I'm going to find a simulation using constant thrust and then send it you guys' way, just so you know how much it is.
Let's pull it up in Kerbal. Let's do this. We got time.
It probably is in Kerbal. So talking about the expenditure of time and the elapsation of time, we watched this, the three of us right now, watched this in a binge and watched season 1 in a binge.
Mm-hmm.
These were on Sci-Fi on a weekly basis. We didn't talk about this last week. How do you like watching this in binge mode versus the weekly mode? And then how do you think that translates into fandom if it's done weekly versus all at once?
I prefer binge mode. Ever since we've been able to do binge mode, I prefer that. I don't like waiting to see. Pardon me. I don't like that.
Do you need to wipe your mic?
I don't like waiting on a weekly basis to get the next part of the story. I love Netflix because they release the entire season all at once. Amazon actually did that for the first season that they produced of The Expanse, but then they went to a weekly model after that, what was it, the 4th season?
Yeah.
That they started. So that kind of disappointed me. But with me wanting to watch The Expanse, I actually did watch it on a weekly basis on week 6. But I do prefer the binge mode more. And I don't know that it affects fandom that much. I mean, there were still rabid fans of The Expanse whenever it was on a weekly basis, rather than just streaming every day. I don't know that it affects fandom that much.
You don't get the water cooler moments as much as you do to build fandom over the course of an entire season. So that's my concern between the two.
Yeah.
Rob, what do you think?
Well, okay. So it depends. For me, it would depend on the show. And I kind of see where I kind of agree with you, SP, on the water cooler moments, because there's things where, oh my gosh, did you see what happened this week? No, I'm not watching that show. Is it pretty good? Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay, well, let me get into it, type of deal. And you've got time to get caught up. Whereas if it's binge mode, it's, oh, this series is really good. Well, what season is it? Oh, it's on season 4, but you can watch it. It's like, oh my gosh, now I got to binge watch this thing or whatever just to try to keep up. So I guess it depends. I say that, but let's be honest, up until like the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, I binge watched it in a weekend with Jason for like 3 years.
I think you didn't miss anything with that.
And Westworld. I did the same thing with Westworld.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We would binge entire seasons of Westworld and Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there was.
Did you like
in a weekend?
There was.
Did you like the time travel at season 1 of Westworld? There.
Oh yeah, it was.
But you did.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they. So my kid would be camping for the weekend, and I'd have to take him down because he couldn't drive. Down in Belton, which is south of Waco. Jason lived down in that area just outside of Austin, so it was like 20 minutes from where I dropped him off. So I'd drop his ass off. I'd go spend the weekend with Jason, and we'd binge watch everything.
Yeah, I used to do that with my academy roommate. We would have weekends like that. We would have classes at each other's bases, and then he would come to my house, and we would play computer games, and it was a very, very early form of LAN gaming, and then we would watch stuff as well. We would definitely have binge watched this after it had aired, but I still think I like the week by week thing because it allows me to process it a little bit. But this is so good that I wanted to keep hitting. I'm going to watch the next one. I'm going to watch the next one. I'm going to watch the next one. And because I'm old and I'm responsible and I have to go to work at some point in time, like 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, no, I have to stop this and go to bed because I got to get up at 5 a.m. the next morning. So I don't know. With this, I could go 50-50.
Yeah. I think it all depends on the series. And I think this one is definitely one of those ones that the binge watch is doable. I do like the episodic, weekly thing because sometimes you get those behind the scenes interviews and things like that happen in between the episodes. And those are always sometimes fun to read up on.
Yep.
And you don't necessarily get this with a full dump. It's just kind of like, okay, well, let's try to piece this together or parse this out a little bit. So,
yeah, there's so much. I was thinking about this. There's so much in the season that it's almost a disservice to do just a season in one podcast. Yeah. But at the other hand, you do a episode on each episode, and I think it gets to be a little bit too long. But I have some more things to say about this, like Miller. I think it was an excellent send-off. The whole cheese story at the Rossi family dinner, I think, was an excellent way to welcome him back. And then you had the beautiful moment with Julie at the end. You knew he was kind of a dumbass for taking off his helmet and stuff, but what else was he going to do? The bomb was going to go off. And then he did the redirect to Eros to Venus. So we only had one main character death in the season. I think that's acceptable losses. I don't think that's Game of Thrones level losses. And I think it was a deserved goodbye to Miller. At least I think so. What do you guys think about Miller's departure?
Oh, yeah, I think it was good.
I was sad to see Miller go the first time I watched The Expanse, and I was still, it was sad to see him go again. You knew it was going to happen, but it was. He was one of my favorite characters from the first and second seasons. I mean, he was a dick, but he was a very flawed character, which made him relatable.
They're all flawed characters. Anderson Dawes, we talked about him last week. I think it was almost a waste of a character, especially using an actor of the quality of Jared Harris to play Anderson Dawes. I know in the books Dawes is not a huge player, but I think for the TV show, the character could have been reimagined and you could have really gotten some use out of Jared Harris.
Yeah, they kind of build him up, and then it's it's a pretty abrupt letdown whenever he gets. Well, we're not going to spoil it, but he doesn't play a big role towards the middle to the end of the season next season. So,
and then you have another character in the gravitas of Chad Coleman with Fred Johnson, He steals the Nauvoo. He knows he's done for basically because nobody's going to want to work with him because like you're going to steal my ship. And he ends up still having the missiles at the end after the mutiny, and he's got the proto-molecule. So he's still kind of a player, but he goes through some big stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a question. We were talking about it earlier. We touched on it, but the Rocinante. So that's we're suspecting that is an advanced Mars designed. It's a warship.
It's a corvette. It's a corvette class.
A frigate. It's a frigate class.
Frigate class. Okay, yeah, and it's part of the Doniger, which is
a gunship.
Yeah, Doniger was the what is it? The flagship of the Martian Navy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the Doniger was the flagship of the Martian Navy, and we have a gunship frigate that was attached to the Doniger. Now, whether or not the Rossi was there because it was just a separate ship that was doing its own thing and docked with the Doniger for whatever reason and just happened to be there as an escape vessel, or if it was permanently attached to the Doniger as some sort of patrol ship or forward recon ship, we don't know that, but we suspect that it was an advanced warship design of the Martian Navy. Holden and crew are calling it legitimate salvage. Do you think that would have flown? I mean, legitimate salvage, they took it off the Doniger to escape. They didn't salvage shit.
The Doniger blew up.
Yeah, the Doniger blew up. Do you think Mars would really consider that legitimate salvage?
No.
In the books,
they'd steal it back.
Yeah, in the books, they pretty much Mars doesn't like the fact that they have it, but they're not going to do anything because of the name or because of the push, not the
history.
Pushback, but the history of Holden. Right, he's in the books. He is a celebrity, and they show this even in the shows. Holden's a celebrity, so if all of a sudden,
so they don't want the PR flag
right.
if they try and take it back.
Right,
gotcha. Okay,
hold that thought for next season.
but do you think that would fly if, like, say, let's say a United States destroyer lost all of its crew during some kind of freak storm or accident out in the middle of the ocean and was just set adrift, and
ship that's in North Korea right now?
The ship that's in North Korea, I don't.
Oh yeah, you haven't heard the legend of the ship, the U.S. naval ship that's in North Korea?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so this goes back quite a ways, right? It's the USS Pueblo, and it remains today an officially commissioned vessel of the United States Navy. But it is moored and has been moored in North Korea for quite some time. It was captured on January 23rd, 1968.
Okay, so it was captured by North Korea?
Yep.
Did they, take it over with the crew intact, or was the crew, it abandoned? Okay.
No, the crew was on board. So it wasn't a act of piracy or legitimate salvage or whatever.
So that was a takeover action, but I'm talking a legitimate salvage. So You've got somebody on a ship in the middle of the ocean. They come across this naval destroyer, United States naval destroyer. All the crew's gone. It's just adrift in the ocean, and they claim it. Do you think the United States would really let them keep a naval destroyer?
No. I think there are different rules in space.
Well, let's say that somebody like Elton John found the naval destroyer in the middle of the ocean and claimed it for himself. Because he's a celebrity, do you think the Navy would, or the United States Navy would really let Elton John keep a naval destroyer?
Probably not. That's probably a bad analogy. I would rather say John Wayne, because he did actually own a naval destroyer at one point in time, but that was legitimately bought off of salvage, so it wasn't and it was
decommissioned and probably stripped of all of its armament and major
no
components.
nuclear missiles on board.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a.
I mean, I'm not familiar enough with.
I guess
I'm not familiar enough, but I mean, the analog is maritime law, right?
Right.
So you figure in space they would have extended maritime law to to space, and there is legitimate salvage out in in the middle of the ocean in international waters under maritime law. I'm not familiar enough with maritime law to know if that applies to ships of war.
Well, some of it goes back to Naomi just knowing enough to booby trap the whole thing. So if anybody tries to take it over, it's going to self-destruct or something like that, which maybe Mars wouldn't mind. But so they have built in a little lore in the TV series that anybody that comes to try to take it is going to have difficulty in doing so.
Right. All right. Rob?
Yes, sir.
You got a haiku for us this week?
I do. This one is titled Space Drugs. Snorting fireflies, Venus acid atmosphere, chicken in a can.
So chicken in a can is a drug.
Apparently. I mean, it's got high street value.
No shit.
Yeah. Now, is it a whole chicken or is it just like chunk white chicken?
No, it's like shredded or chunk chicken.
Chunk
like
white chicken,
you get
like
in a
we
can
get
now.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, SP, the rumor has it that you've got a limerick for us this week.
I do have a limerick. You guys ready for it?
Let's do it.
It's titled The Expanse Part 2 Breakups. Miller, Dawes, and Fred Johnson disband. The Rocinante family now damned. Abergast, Spectre, Draper, Protector, Demos, Eros, and Phoebe are canned.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, who's got awards this week?
Yes, sir.
All right, Rob, who's got your black lung?
Oh, I still gave it to Christian.
Yeah. SP?
I'll give it to the hybrid.
Oh,
the hybrid. Yeah,
nice.
for getting toasted. Yeah.
Yep.
Mine's going to go to Christian as well. So, I mean, she still sounds like she's forever going to sound like she's smoking like
and
5 packs a day.
And the more excited she gets, like during that gunfight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
you
God.
hear a lot more gravel.
Golly.
Yeah.
Hey, when she's interrogating Draper, where is this going? Wherever I goddamn want.
Yeah. I love her no shit attitude. I really like that character. Especially for a diplomat, for the head diplomat of the UN, she has just got a very non-diplomatic affectation.
When Mao enters onto the leisure deck or wherever that was, she's like, let's just get down to text. What the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
That's great.
All right, SP, who's got your head lush?
Oh, I will go with Aaron Wright because of killing the Martian ambassador, I don't know what to call him, with the drug in his drink.
Okay.
Drug was not in his drink. It happened prior to the play.
Right. Yeah, it was on his playbill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, he still killed him
over
using 107-year-old scotch. Yeah.
That's an old scotch. Rob?
Only on Earth.
I gave the head lush to Amos. He went on some sort of drunken bender after he pushed the little kid, or got pushed by the little kid.
Yep, Amos is getting mine too for his drunken whoring bender. I mean, it looked like he hadn't showered in days and had been going at it for days without sleep. So
you guys think that's what happened? See, I've got him queued up for another reward here because I think he got with Kodazar and he had his head messed with.
No.
Oh.
Nope.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Cortazar had no method to be able to jack with his head.
Yeah, he had everything he wanted to in his lap. And that was all taken by Dawes.
Yeah, but I don't think he didn't have the stuff to be able to like fry his brain.
Yeah, I read that wrong then, but that's how I read it.
Yeah, so I think Amos in that was asking how I think he was trying to see if he was like Commissar
Cortazar.
Cortazar. because he saw similarities between the way Cortazar acted and the way he thought and acted. And so I think he was trying to reverse that cycle. He was trying to be something different than what Cortazar was. I think he was having a moment of self-reflection. Because in one of the last episodes, he was like, I've been trying to think more for myself now, and I'm making the wrong choices. And Naomi said, we all make wrong choices. So I think he was trying to change the way he reacted to the world, because normally the way he reacted to the world was very self-centered and, with violence to stop whatever was annoying him at that time, much like Cortazar. And so I think he was trying to kind of feel more empathetic towards situations.
Makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm glad we had this talk.
So he's getting my head lush. Rob, who gets your player?
I'm giving it. It's a tie. I'm giving it to Holden and Naomi both for their airlock action.
Okay, SP.
Yeah, unlike last season, Naomi does get to play a little bit, but I'm actually going to go for Miller and Mao in the Eros asteroid. He finally gets his time with his girl.
Yep, that's who's getting mine is Miller, because he finally gets to meet the girl that he fell in love with through holovids, and he averts disaster by reaching out to her and making that connection. So he's getting my player. All right, SP, who gets your purple hippo?
Oh, this is easy for me this time, Draper. Bobby Draper, she gets it because her CO, friend of her dad, was convincing her to say something that was completely wrong, and she had to find out that they killed her friends, her team, just because of a weapons test, and were trying to cover it up. So she went ape crap on him, punched him in the throat, wrecked his face, and then defected because of it. So I'm going to give it to Draper. Perfectly rational things, but the mind frack that happened to her during the entire season to get to that point, I'm going to give it to her.
Okay. Rob?
Yeah, Draper's an easy one, but I'm going with Adam Savage, floating in Venus.
And I love whenever the ship breaks apart. So you see Adam Savage, and I was surprised not to see him in the previous 2 episodes where they showed that ship. He was only in that very last episode.
Right. No, he was in 2 episodes.
He was.
Was he?
Yeah, he didn't have any speaking parts.
I didn't see him because I was looking for him.
Yep,
but I didn't see him in the prior episode, and then you see him a couple different times in that very last episode.
Yep.
He's got the speaking part, and then he's right there at the very beginning of the screen whenever the ship blows apart, and he kind of drifts off to the left side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they show him first before they zero in on the scientist and the captain.
He's right up in center. But no, so my purple hippo is going to go to Julie Mao, because she, died from the protomolecule and somehow was resurrected by the protomolecule and kind of merged in with Eros and was driving Eros toward Earth, thinking that she was in the Razorback and racing towards home. So when Miller came along and kind of revealed that, no, she was actually kind of dead, and she was driving a giant asteroid towards Earth, and maybe if you hook up with me, we can go to Venus, the planet of love, and crash there. Yeah, that's going to get my purple hippo.
She got my purple hippo last time. I don't think that's a wrong choice, but what do you guys think that the protomolecule just wanted to get somewhere where there is a concentration of population? So it was trying to feed Julie into taking it, quote unquote, home, where Earth was where all the people were, versus going somewhere where there's raw material to make what they're about to make.
So
I don't know that it was the protomolecule that was making her go to Earth.
Yeah. So originally Phoebe was supposed to hit Earth to
Eros.
No, Phoebe was supposed to hit Earth and got hijacked.
By Jupiter.
By Jupiter,
yeah, okay.
Right. So so the protomolecule was supposed to go there and to do what it's doing now in Venus using simple organisms, right? Bacteria, things like that. The fact that we're complex organisms has thrown that protomolecule for a loop, and it is figuring out what it needs to do. So it's ever evolving, right? It's ever the more mass you give it, the more it learns, as Cortazar said and Dresden said. So I think it was Julie wanting to get to Earth, and I think the protomolecule was just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay.
You know, I have a job to do, but I don't know how to do it yet because you have given me complex organisms as opposed to simple organisms, single cell bacteria and that kind of deal, that I can use that biomass to do what I need to do.
I think its brain got corrupted by that modern rock music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that
it'll fry your brain,
creating.
man. That new wave synth stuff, yeah.
Oh my god, you two are dorks.
You have us on the show.
Yeah, so next week we're going to be discussing the movie where a mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit around Earth and sends it hurtling on a collision course with life as we know it. It is 2022's Moonfall. This stars Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, and John Bradley. Wow, there's 3 actors I haven't seen in a while. 2 of them I haven't seen in a long while. John Bradley, that's Samuel Tarly,
yes,
right?
Yes, that's Samuel Tarly.
All right. Yeah. So next week we're gonna see the future of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones in space.
Game of Thrones in space.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks again, SP. Where can we find you?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I've been wanting to talk about this stuff for a long, long time. You guys have given me a great opportunity. Thank you very much for that. You can find me over on the GonnaGeek.com network. That's GonnaGeek.com. I have an active podcast over there called Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., all about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're going over the X-Men animated series, getting ready for that 97 X-Men, probably at the end of next year, maybe 2024. It's the first time ever that I'm getting to watch it. So we're doing that and watching all the Marvel movies at the same time, as well as I have a podcast about podcasting that's on hiatus for a little bit longer called Better Podcasting over there.
All right, and that's what we've got for this week. Our intro and outro music is Welcome Home by Cambo. Podcrawl music is Snack Mix by Machette.
Give me some flight
If you like the
times,
show,
I
please rate
appreciate
and
that.
review us on iTunes. You can leave us feedback on our Discord channel at smokinganddrinkinginspace.com/Discord.
To get to
on
Mars,
Twitter
right?
at @Status_podcast, or you can email us at smokinganddrinkinginspace@outlook.com. If you'd like to throw a few nickels our way, you can
Only
become a Patreon
16
supporter
days
by
to
going
Pluto.
to smokinganddrinkinginspace.com/Patreon.
Uranus is 11
Or
days.
this week, I'm Jason, and yes, I agree that his anus is 11 days wide.
What the hell?
It's not nice.
That's mean.
And we'll talk to you next episode.
So mean.
And this week we continue our coverage of The Expanse with this season that asks the question, isn't glowy blue stuff really pretty? Starring Shohreh Aghdashloo, Frankie Adams, and Kaz Anwar, it's season 2 of The Expanse. Let me try that whole fucking thing over again.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
God damn, there's a lot of tongue twisters in there.
You wrote it.
I know. And this week, we continue our coverage of The Expanse with the season that asks the question, isn't glowy blue stuff really pretty? Starring Shohreh God damn it, I can't get past her fucking name.
You're going to stumble even before that. You know,
Shohreh
just...
Aghdashloo. Aghdashloo. Okay. Shohreh Aghdashloo. And this week, we continue our coverage of The Expanse with the season that asks the question, isn't glowy blue stuff really pretty? Starring Shohreh Damn it.
Will you hurry up?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those fucking nights, isn't it?
Man,
Do you want to slow down just a little bit?
It's going to be like a 3-hour recording and only about 5 useful
I'm up for it.
minutes.
You shut up, Rob.
Just like any lovemaking session with you.
Yeah.
That's going in the fucking
Yeah.
reel.
I'll throw it in the back end. I'll throw it in the back end.
Oh, that made my recording.
Now, can you make the normal recording?
Shut up. And this week, we continue our coverage of The Expanse with the season that asked the question, isn't glowy blue stuff really pretty? Starring Shohreh Aghdashloo, I'll never get that right, Frankie Adams, and Kaz Anfar. God damn it.
He's on the funny juice tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, shit.
Self-inflicted asphyxiation. See, I can say that right.
No, it's it's autoerotic self-asphyxiation.
No, whatever. I never have a problem with I don't have a problem with autoerotic. It's always the asphyxiation part. And I said it right twice now tonight. So get your shit together. Come on.